Well, for more on the humanitarian crisis facing Palestinians in Gaza as we head into winter, let's speak now to Ahmed Bayram. He's the Middle East spokesperson for the Norwegian Refugee Council. Ahmed, how different or how much worse is the situation in Gaza as we head into this winter compared to a year ago?
I think it's a world of difference, really. I think now we are coming to see the impact of all these evacuation orders, so-called evacuation orders by Israel. If you cast your mind back to the Rafah operations and the attacks on that side of Gaza, and the squeezing of people into this coastline, you could tell that there was a catastrophe waiting to happen. It is unfolding right now in this season, in the winter. Now we are talking about more people than ever being pushed into that area, and we worry that after displacement, after starvation, it's going to be death by the Mediterranean.
And what exactly are the most basic, most essential items that people in Gaza need right now? And how optimistic are you that they'll be able to get them given the aid situation?
Very basic: tents, plastic sheets, tarps, some timber, anything that could create a tent. I mean, these people have been staying in these tents for a year. These tents are not made to stand, to stay standing that much. They are certainly not made to, weather the storms of the winter. What we need is over 100 trucks per week to enter, carrying only shelter items. There are around, I think, there's enough shelter items waiting by the border, by the way, enough for 500,000 people, either by the border with Gaza or on their way. But, with Israeli restrictions, we're not very optimistic. I mean, Israel has banned timber wood, for example, so there's no way you could create a tent unless by some improvisation or some innovation you come up with to create a tent. And of course, let's not forget that the 100,000 people, additional 100,000 people that Israel has displaced in the north will have, no home or no shelter or no tent for them. So the scale of needs are massive. We need at least, like I said, 200 trucks of shelters immediately. But again, with restrictions, we're not really that optimistic, and that's why we are looking at, we are actually calling for the international community to at least look at these people and look at the situation of these people and push Israel to allow more in.
Ahmed, obviously your organisation, the Norwegian Refugee Council, along with many others and governments around the world, are engaged in these talks and discussions and negotiations with the Israelis about what aid can come in and when it can come in. Can you just take us behind the scenes a little bit of how these talks are going on and how difficult they are and how it all works?
Yeah, these talks never stop. They do happen in around capitals of the world. They are happening in Brussels. They are happening in London. They are happening in New York. They are happening in the major capitals of the world. And what we hear is all encouraging talk. However, on the ground we see very little moving. And actually, what is happening is moving in the opposite direction, as a more displacement, less aid, and more restrictions. So, the more, I think we need more pressure for sure on Israel, but, humanitarian organizations, NGOs, never stop talking behind the scenes. There's so much diplomacy that is happening, humanitarian diplomacy that is happening. And particularly, amongst NGOs that are working on the ground, who are advocating for more aid. But like I said, I mean, the key is probably in a couple of big capitals in the world, probably Washington and probably in Brussels, and of course in Israel, which ultimately holds that key to the gate. But we never stop talking, and we never stop talking that, whether that is privately or publicly, we keep, raising that voice. That is not our voice. It is the voice of the people on the ground who are living through this pain. And, my colleagues are amongst those who are, trying to provide everything they can with the very little they have. from from their areas of displacement, from their areas of losses, of destruction. And I think we need to keep talking, because I think we're reaching a very, very tough stretch for every person in Gaza, for every child and for every family.
All right, Ahmed Bayram from the Norwegian Refugee Council. I can hear just how challenging this is in the tone of your voice there. Thank you so much for joining us on the NewsHour on TRT World.